Again, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I'm Sam Sylvester, and I'm with Save Our Water, and I want to introduce Jerry McCormick to you. He's the chairman and the president of our Save Our Water group. And Jerry, come and do your thing.
Good evening. I'm so glad that y'all quit fishing and come to see us tonight. We have an excellent program, and I'll let Penny introduce our speaker here in a minute. But I wanted to talk about a couple of things, and one of them, of course, is our lake's full again. It's been a long time, and we're not quite sure how to act. But you know, it's feast or famine. You know, I remember back when it was almost running over the emergency spillway, and our docks were all floating off our pencils, and we were trying to figure ways to get to our boats. And in the last couple of years, you know, we were dodging stumps in the lake. So we're back up to a conservation pool, and a friend of mine called me from Norman yesterday and said, we got 2.5 inches of rain in 2 hours, so expect a little bit more. So in about 3 days, we're going to see it. We're going to see it coming up a little bit more. So you know, we talk about the lake and the water and our concerns about the water, and you say, what's the big deal? You know, it comes and it goes. You know, so why should we be really concerned about it? Well, it's kind of like, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in anything, but let me tell you a little story about when I was a kid. My brother and I, we were raised on a dairy farm. And in the wintertime, we'd keep the cows in the loafing shed on the back of the barn and feed them hay, and feed them hay, and feed them hay. Well, in the spring, we went to clean that out. And we cleaned out the unused hay, and we cleaned out the used hay. And I remember my brother saying, man, if we could just sell this stuff. At that time, we were throwing it in a trailer and taking it in the field and dumping it out, you know. Well, now go to Lowe's and price it, what a 40-pound bag of that costs. And the other thing is, I remember, and I know I'm telling my age, but you're bottling water? We're buying water to drink? It's unbelievable. So we just can't be sure of anything. So what we're concerned about is to be smarter about those things that are happening around us. And I think tonight's meeting is just going to give all of us a little better idea about what's coming down the road, what may come down the road. So it's, I hope you enjoy the evening. And in not the too distant future, we're going to try to get somebody from Department of Environmental Quality to come and talk to us about water quality issues in the lake. We've had representatives from Oklahoma Water Resources Board come and talk to us. We've had people come from power companies come and talk to us. So we're trying to get us all on the same educational level here about what's going on with our lake. And before we get started, I know we have a number of representatives here, officials, and what I'd like to do is I would like to ask you to stand up and introduce yourself and who you're affiliated with. First of all, I'd like to start with the federal officials. If we have any federal employees or federal representatives.
Yes, sir. Dwayne Thompson. I'm a field rep for Congressman Mark Eufaula.
Dwayne, good to have you here.
Michael Junk, representing Senator Jim Inhofe.
Michael, glad to have you here.
Steve Johnson, Eufaula Lake. I'm the lead ranger there.
Okay, now let's go to our tribal representatives. Do we have tribal representatives here tonight?
My name is Sarah Hill. I work for the Cherokee Nation.
Sarah, glad to have you.
Susan Archie, I work for the Cherokee Creek Nation.
Susan.
Hi, I'm Sarah James Small with the Choctaw Nation.
Sarah, thank you. What about state officials? Do we have anybody from the state here?
Ed Kennedy, District 15, State Rep.
Brian Renniger, State Rep, District
Larry Boggs, District 7 Senator.
Thanks, guys. And, yeah,
Kent Wilkins with the Oklahoma Water Resources Board.
Kent, glad you're here tonight.
Board member here somewhere.
Here we have a board member, Ed.
Where's Ed?
There he is. There he is.
Ed Pike.
Ed Pike, yeah.
And city officials. Gene, stand up.
I'm Gene Dobson, I'm City Councilman Ward 3.
I'm Frank Davis, City Councilman, Ward 1.
Thanks, Frank. Glad to have you here. At this point, I'd like to have Penny Embry come up and introduce our guest speaker for the evening. And I want to thank you again for all of you for showing up tonight.
Penny, do not under-introduce me.
I will not. Hi, I'm Penny Embry. I'm Vice President of Save Our Water, and I'm going to keep this short because no matter what I said, I couldn't say enough about our guest speaker, Larry Derryberry. You've all seen his biography in the newspaper and in the handouts. He graduated from OU and from OU Law School. He was elected to the Oklahoma House of Representatives while he was still in law school. In 1970, he was elected as Attorney General for the state of Oklahoma, the youngest Attorney General, and re-elected in 1974. He is a tireless fighter for what is right. I work with a statewide organization known as Oklahomans for Responsible Water Policy. Larry is one of our attorneys. He has spent hours and hours and weeks and days and months helping us. He is very generous with his time, way more generous than he probably should be. He never stops doing the right thing. We are very blessed and very lucky to have him here. One of the most recent things he did is he helped with another couple of attorneys write an amicus curiae, a friend of a court brief for Oklahomans for Responsible Water Policy, and essentially, because many of the people in this room belong to this organization, he wrote it for you, to give you a voice in the Supreme Court. He's going to talk about that. That case starts next week, Tarrant County against Oklahoma. Need no more introduction, Larry Derryberry.
Thank you. Thank you, Penny. Thank you. Penny, that is one of the best introductions I ever wrote. And I appreciate it. For those of you who had not heard the name Larry Derryberry before and sniggered a little when you heard it, let me tell you, it's always been a problem to me. I've been born Larry Derryberry. One of the things that happened to me, a true story, and all mine are not, by the way, but this one is a true story. I was still in law school when I went to the legislature. I'm from Altus, actually Humphreys, Oklahoma, which is a little rural area outside of the city of Altus. I was just a kid. I was just turned 22, and folks from Altus came to me and said, Larry, please go to the governor. And I have to remind you that in 1962, the year I was elected, Henry Bellman was elected governor, his first go-around as governor. I was a young Democrat. He was a Republican, former chair of the Republican Party. So he and I had not been together a lot during my lifetime. But they asked me to go to the governor, my folks in Altus, and said, tell them we need folks from our community appointed to these state boards, like the Water Resources Board, the Highway Commission, the Wheat Commission, all of the ones that were important to our community. And I thought I could do that. You know, I didn't know better. I thought I could do it. But I called down. I was up on the 4th floor of the Capitol. I called down to the governor's office on the 2nd floor. His secretary, or the receptionist, answered the phone. And I said, hello, I'm hoping I'll have an opportunity to speak with the governor. And she says, well, may I ask who's calling? And I said, this is Larry Derryberry. And she said, no, seriously, who's calling? And I said, this is Larry Derryberry. And she laughed. And I said, look, if you look in your directory of newly elected state officials, you'll see a state representative from Altus named Larry Derryberry. And I could hear her going through her paper, and she found me and paused. And then she said, oh, Representative Derryberry, I am so embarrassed at what I've done. And I said, rightly so. Because I'm Larry Derryberry. My brother is Gary Derryberry. My sister is Mary Derryberry. My father is Harry Derryberry. And she says, oh my God, what's your mother's name? I said, Ralph. This girl named Carol wasn't going to blow it again. She said, oh, that's nice. That's nice. So anyway, please know that Larry Derryberry is happy to be here with you tonight. I sit here because I'm getting older and slower. Maybe not dumber, because I've spent a lot of years in government and in the practice of law and in raising a family. My wife, Gail, who's on the back row, you can tell she's a Baptist, she's on the back row, who's with me, was born and raised at Quinton, Oklahoma. You know Quinton well. Gail, I don't know how far you were from the Eufaula Dam, but what, 20 miles, 15, 20 miles from Quinton to maybe, what part? Gail and I, after we started dating, would go out there and watch the end of the construction as it was going on, and remember when the dam was finally opened and dedicated. We were too poor to drive from Altus up there to see President Johnson dedicate the dam, but that's always been a part of our life. My daughter, Dara, we couldn't name her a rhyming name, had just finished building a home at Longtown Landing, which is only, what, 4 miles from here. Beautiful home up on the waterfront, and she was kind enough to fix it so I can walk through the house and down a sloping path to get in her boat and go fishing. I don't have to climb stairs or scoot down the grass. And when we saw the plans, it had the living room, it had the dining area, it had the kitchen, it had the master bedroom, it had their daughter Ava's bedroom, their son Tristan's loft, which was over the garage, and in the very back, a bedroom for Papa and Gigi, which are Gail and me. So we're going to be living into your community on weekends for a long time. I am happy to be here with you, and I don't know that I'm going to say anything that couldn't be said by almost everyone here, but I do want to share with you my experience in matters relating to water. I was so happy to see my friends who are here representing our House members, our United States House members, and Senator Inhofe. Michael, please give the Senator my regards. He and I served together in the House. I was elected in 1962. I think he was elected in maybe 1966. But we served together, a Republican from Tulsa and a Democrat from Altus, who became very good friends. Please give him my warm regards. And of course, I saw Mark Wayne just a few days ago. He was kind enough to drop by my office, and every time he does, you can bet we talk about water. He's interested, and I'm interested. Of course, I'm glad to see my friends from the tribes. I must tell you folks that were it not for the tribes, this fight for water rights and for water in rural Oklahoma would not be going so well. The tribes have stepped up and have claimed their rights under the treaties that are older than 2 or 3 of us put together, and asserted what our government gave them, which were certain rights in the matter of water in our state, and particularly, of course, in this area of the state. I'm glad to see my friends from the legislature. Larry Boggs and I worked together for a lot of years on agricultural matters. I'm a big fan of Representative Kennedy and of Brian's. Admire you all a lot. You've got great representatives up there fighting battles. And I want you to know that fighting battles today is harder than fighting battles was for me in the 60s and 70s when I was in state government. And the reason is there's been a significant shift in political power in our state as people left the community I grew up in southwest Oklahoma, and have left the communities near here and have moved to Oklahoma City or to Tulsa or to Sand Springs or Broken Arrow or Moore or Norman, Midwest City. And with that shift of people goes a shift of power. And for those of us who believe that rural Oklahoma is the bedrock of our society, we have to figure out ways to do more with less in terms of numbers. We've got to outwork them, Ed. We've got to outsmart them. We just got to stay ahead of those who are pouring more water down their driveways than we're drinking.